Namaste, everybody, and good afternoon. I am incredibly humbled and joyous to be here in Sun Valley, a long way from the kind of places that I usually am, and to share the stage with Amy Christensen, who shares my passion, commitment, and strategy, I think, for moving things forward. The Barefoot College was founded 47 years ago in the deserts of Rajasthan as a social justice and climate justice organization. It had at the heart of its vision the lifestyle and work style of Mahatma Gandhi, and central to that vision is the idea that the wisdom, skills, and knowledge that very poor people already possess are all they really need to be self-sufficient. 4 years ago, I decided to grow and to scale the ideas that I thought were needed in the communities that I was visiting around the world. So I set up Barefoot College International as a means to scale 3 key areas of impact. 1 was renewable energy, 2 was education for rural children, and 3 was around building women's economic mobility through empowering them and through creating enterprises that they themselves would run and guide. Now, for millions of children around the world, this is school, because they don't have the access to a school. This is our Barefoot Solar Night School model that has been going for 32 years in poor, rural, remote communities. 80% of the children who attend are girls. It's a radically different approach to education. The curriculum is a rural curriculum for rural children, not an urban curriculum for rural children, which drives them to think and aspire only to going to a city. It uses a STEM curriculum. We believe that poor people should not be given poor technology, that they deserve to have the very best tools that we have access to in order to leverage their wisdom and skills. Today, these children who sometimes walk up to 25 and 30 kilometers a day, herding animals during the day, come to school every night from 6:30 to 9:30. We have a 98% attention. We have a particularly different model. It's run by a community committee, and it's run and taught by a community teacher who does not have a formal education or formal certificate. The curriculum is based on issues and things that create value and heroism within rural communities. For instance, childhood marriage, very big problem in India. We counter that by giving girls the kind of information and STEM skills that allow them to create economic value for their fathers. When you're a girl and you know how to rotate your crops, when you know permaculture practices, when you're able to think about the value and where you can sell your crops for more money, your father is far less likely to marry you off at 12 or 14. You're worth something to keep around. So it's this kind of radical innovation that seems simple on one level, but is actually quite complex on others, that has let these children now start to create their own curriculums. Curriculums for themselves to share with other children all over India across languages in order that they can share cultural practices, sustainability ideas, and their own vision for where they want to go. Now, our R&D department decided we needed more and bigger ways to get messages to children in communities that had no access to energy and no formal schools. So we developed a solar-powered projector which fits on the back of a motorbike or can be carried from one community to another. It has an Apple TV integrated in it, and it runs on one iPad mini. Last year, we worked with the Malala Fund to show He named me Malala to more than 80,000 children across 40 villages, all in the worst areas for girls' attendance at school. And what that resulted in was village leaders, 65 years old, standing up, telling their whole communities, "You will send your daughters to school." The power of media and the chance to get that into communities that don't have access normally has been a real eye-opener for us. The academic retention of these children, you might be asking, well, how good can those schools really be? Our kids perform in the top 3% of the national schools when they transition to the secondary school. Most importantly, one of the fundamental elements of this curriculum is around developing citizenship. In India, when you vote, you get a little mark on your fingernail. It signals a vote. So every year, our children's parliament, which has Minister of Energy, Minister of Education, Minister of Health, and by the way, the Prime Minister is always a girl. We've never had a boy Prime Minister be elected, is able to carry out elections that involve more than 7,000 children and their families to learn the practices and principles of taking good, sound decision-making, transparency, and engagement. Now, for 1.6 billion people around the world, this is light. They spend their days holding a mobile phone in their mouth, trying to see that animals and bugs don't go into their food, trying to teach their children to read, breathing in the caustic fumes of poor quality kerosene. Women are largely cut out of education. We've made great strides for younger women, 5 to 15, but those of us older women actually still have some go in us. I see people saving the mobile phone numbers they need to use every day using symbols because they're not numerate. And worse than that, across country and culture, all of the women, almost universally, would say a statement that really broke my heart. And it was this, that to dream was the road to my unhappiness. Now imagine nearly half the planet not dreaming. I think that's a pretty big loss of capacity and talent. So we began to innovate around how we could unlock those dreams again, and technology offered us an answer.
One of our best partnerships in the area of skills is the training of solar mamas.
All welcome Kilonia. Barefoot College, all work our learning by doing by learning.
Soldering iron. Net. Screw.
Negative, positive.
Every day must be practice and practice up to 6 months. I think that our mind is good and clear.
I made this. Yes.
My name is Engineer. Before, only Fatima, but now Solar Engineer.
So every 6 months, we bring 60 women from up to 10 or 11 different countries who have no common language and do not read and write to the desert in Rajasthan to train them on how to be solar engineers. The entire curriculum was developed by other people who cannot read and write. That means we have technology and pedagogy by the poor, for the poor. We integrated this using, again, great digital technology, and we're able to visualize for the women using color and different kinds of visuals their entire curriculum, which has allowed us to now open 6 Barefoot colleges throughout the developing world. Now, this is not light technology. This is not getting a tiny light into everybody's hands because that's all they can afford. This is lighting up a household, transforming health, education, and economic possibilities for every household, community by community, led by a woman. It has redefined professionalism as being someone in a community who has confidence, competence, and belief in themselves, but not necessarily a degree. It has changed governance structures in communities. This is a village chief in Togo who got rid of his entire all-male advisory committee and replaced it with the 4 solar mamas because he decided they had much more value than his men. They become role models, obviously, for women and girls in every community who've never seen a woman do anything more than just stay at home, cook, clean, and prepare. They have become leaders with agency. They are now leading villages and districts. They're setting up enterprises, and you'll see just how far that can go. They have in every way exceeded any expectation we or anybody else has ever had of them. This is Katerina. She's a solar mama. It's true, from Guatemala, from an area of conflict. In fact, Katerina spent the first 11 years of her life living as a refugee in the forest, feeding herself off the forest. So she didn't ever go to school. She's also a coffee farmer. And one of the things that Katerina and many women like her were telling us is that they couldn't earn consistent income. And we know that having power as a woman starts with having money in your pocket. And so we set out to understand why it was someone like me could become a successful entrepreneur, and my women all over the developing world couldn't do the same thing. Because to me, they were more resilient, more adaptive, more creative, more innovative than I was. So I didn't understand what the gap was. We designed, after a lot of consultation with these women and listening to where they felt they needed support, a new curriculum called Barefoot and Rich, which gives women a holistic sense of their body, the environment, and most importantly, helps them to verbalize their aspirations and their goals. We start with microenterprise skill building. This is a business canvas exercise with women in the Pacific Islands, but we also do business canvases with a stick in the sand. We digitize the financial literacy and digital inclusion programs in order to be able to get them to many more women faster and cheaper. And voila, they have definitely become entrepreneurs now. They have designed their own line of solar hardware. This hardware is not any hardware. It's been designed to fit a woman's hand, the way she wants to hold it, the way she wants to use it, the way it will be useful for her. We've listened to them and let them guide the innovation process with respect. She's told us how to manufacture it, how she can build it faster and easier, which parts are going to break that she already knows, and then how she's going to fix those. Bindi Solar is, as far as I know, the only solar hardware company in the world designed, fabricated, installed, maintained, repaired, and sold only by women. This year, Bindi will ship to 30 countries. They started to ask us about other livelihoods because the women said something really profound. They said, one way of earning money isn't enough. We need more than one. And so we saw this as an opportunity to look at merging the understanding of their natural surroundings and their environments with the production of something that would bear income. And we set up our Be Barefoot honey line, which is now active in 4 countries and is highly profitable after only 3 years. This is how a project comes to be. I went to Botswana a couple of weeks ago. I went to the Okavango Delta because they have lifted the ban on hunting in Botswana. And so the communities are going to be quite affected by this. And the livestock is going to also be very affected. One of the things I learned as I was looking for where we would put solar electrification in these communities was that they had a bigger problem. There was an animal and human conflict present in these communities. Elephants move in and out of the Okavango Delta, and they maraud through people's fields. They break homes, fences, and create a lot of damage. And so the communities are motivated to be pretty violent against the animals. So how can we interrupt this? We set out to install fences in elephant corridors with EcoExist. The fences are rigged with beehives that stand 1.5 meters off the ground because guess what elephants are afraid of? Bees. So the sound of the bees will keep the elephants from moving into the residential areas, and at the same time provide a livelihood stream for a fully viable honey business in the Okavango Delta. So innovation comes in all shapes and sizes. Many of our women are from coffee regions, and so we also have a coffee business now that is run by women producer-led cooperatives. In fact, they are even now learning to negotiate with middlemen and get rid of the middlemen in the coffee buying process in order to be able to price their coffee above market. We've built 5 Barefoot colleges around the world, which are joint ventures with each of those governments in sub-Saharan Africa. That's a pretty extraordinary thing for a little organization like me that has only an overhead of about $1 million a year. That means those are the only institutions right now in the developing world that are open for learning for women who have never been in formal education. This is the way we build sustainability into our systems. Now, this is an extraordinary picture because if you remember Fatma, the woman from the video, this is Fatma telling the president of Zanzibar exactly how a solar panel works. But we haven't gone far enough. So we're still working. And now we're starting to look at how we can really bring women in a scaled way into the formal economy. So our partners at Apple, who are exceptional, helped us to start to look at human-centric design and user interface that would cross the barrier of literacy and allow women at the last mile to be able to participate in an economic revolution for themselves, one that they create, one that they deliver. Now, I love this quote because I think this is a really profound quote. Alvin Toffler said, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write. It will be those of us who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." As we move into a world where machines will learn faster than we can, create faster than we can, know things in deeper ways than we will ever be able to accumulate knowledge, I believe it is our adaptive intelligence which is actually going to be the most valuable thing that we can have. And so for me, the solutions are probably not going to come from the Harvard and Stanford and MIT graduates. I think they're going to come from women just like our women, who are resilient at levels we can't and have not yet begin to tap. Thank you very much.